There's a deeper psychological advantage here too. When you work in silence, you engage in what could be called pure practice. This is practice without performance anxiety, without external pressure to impress, without the constant background noise of other people's expectations. In that space, mistakes are allowed to happen and lessons are allowed to sink in. You can be brutally honest with yourself without worrying about how that honesty might look to others. This is the soil in which mastery grows, self-corrected, unpolished, and unannounced. Silence also forces you to rely on the most honest form of motivation, the internal kind. If you only work when people are watching, you're not committed to the work itself, you're committed to the applause. But if you can show up day after day, when nobody knows and nobody cares, then you're working from a place of real integrity. And integrity is what makes your results sustainable. Applause fades, skill doesn't. Now, building yourself silently doesn't mean hiding forever. It doesn't mean you never share your work or your progress. It means you respect the process enough to give it the time it needs before presenting it to the world. It's the difference between serving someone raw dough and serving them a fully baked loaf of bread. One is half finished and unappealing. The other is the result of patience, heat, and transformation. People will taste the difference, not just in the final product, but in the depth of preparation behind it. The irony is that by resisting the urge to be seen too soon, you eventually become far more noticeable. Your results will stand out precisely because they weren't diluted by 100 premature reveals. When you finally step into the light, you'll bring with you something solid, something undeniable, something that commands attention without asking for it. And so, the real discipline here is not just in doing the work, it's in withholding the work until it's ready. That restraint is difficult, because it forces you to sit with your own uncertainty. You have to keep showing up without the reassurance of external approval. You have to trust that the quiet hours will amount to something, even when nobody else is telling you so. That trust, that commitment to the process over the performance, is what separates the fleeting from the lasting. So if you want to build something real, start by building it where no one can see. Let your progress be invisible until it's undeniable. Resist the urge to narrate every step. Keep your head down, keep your hands busy, and keep your mouth shut. The world will hear you soon enough. But when it does, make sure it hears something worth listening to. We have been conditioned to believe that success should be fast, loud, and immediately visible. The culture we live in rewards speed, celebrates instant results, and makes patience feel like weakness. But the truth is, anything worth building, whether it's a career, a skill, a character, or a life, requires time. It's not simply a matter of waiting, it's a matter of cultivating what I'd call strategic patience. This is patience with intent, patience with action. Patience that is not about doing nothing, but about doing the right things consistently without needing immediate proof that they're working. One of the deepest mistakes people make is confusing activity with progress. They want to move quickly because movement feels like progress, but speed without direction is chaos in motion. Strategic patience forces you to slow down enough to align your actions with your long-term vision. Rather than chasing whatever offers the quickest hit of validation, it's understanding that while the rest of the world is sprinting in circles, you're moving steadily towards something that actually matters. Think about the way nature works. You can't force a tree to grow faster by yelling at it or pulling on its branches. The seed needs to germinate, the roots need to take hold, and the trunk needs to strengthen before the leaves ever appear. Strategic patience is like that. It acknowledges that the most important growth happens underground, out of sight, and that rushing the process often destroys the result. People often underestimate how much invisible work success requires. The progress you see is just the tip of the iceberg. The rest is hidden beneath the surface, built over years of deliberate effort. What's interesting is that strategic patience isn't passive. It's not sitting back, waiting for life to hand you something. It's active discipline. It's choosing to make the small, unglamorous moves every single day, even when there's no applause and no visible breakthrough. It's resisting the temptation to pivot to something easier when the work gets hard. It's saying to yourself, I'm here for the long game, and then proving it through persistence. Patience without strategy is stagnation. Strategy without patience is burnout. You need both. The strategy gives you the map, the patience gives you the stamina to actually walk the path without quitting halfway. And here's the paradox: when you commit to strategic patience, you often move faster in the long run than those who are chasing shortcuts. Because shortcuts have a cost. They create gaps in your foundation that eventually collapse under pressure. The person who took the time to build carefully may look like they're behind at first, but they'll outlast everyone who tried to rush ahead without preparing. There's also a psychological dimension to this. The world is full of distractions, and the pressure to produce results quickly is not just external, it's internal. We all want to feel that our efforts are paying off. We want confirmation that we're on the right track. But strategic patience teaches you to delay that confirmation. It teaches you to sit with the uncertainty of not yet knowing, and to keep going anyway. That's where real strength comes from, not from working when the outcome is guaranteed, but from working when it isn't. In the silence of strategic patience, you're also forced to confront yourself. Without the instant feedback loop of external validation, you have to evaluate your own work honestly. Are you doing this because it's truly what you value, or because it will make you look good? Are you committed to mastery, or are you chasing attention? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are necessary if you want to build something that lasts. There's a saying that time reveals all things, and it's true. Time will reveal whether your foundation is strong or hollow. Time will reveal whether your work was built on discipline or on hype. And strategic patience ensures that when that moment of revelation comes, you're ready. It allows you to meet opportunity at its peak rather than scrambling to catch up when it arrives. The irony is that in a world where everyone is racing, the one who waits strategically often ends up in the best position. It's like in chess. Not every move is about immediate attack. Sometimes the best move is positioning your pieces, anticipating the endgame while your opponent is still thinking about the next turn. Strategic patience gives you that advantage, the ability to think beyond the moment, to act with the future in mind. And make no mistake, this is not an easy mindset to adopt. It means tolerating the discomfort of feeling behind while everyone else appears to be ahead. It means holding your ground when others are shouting for you to hurry. It means trusting that the compound effect of steady, intentional action will eventually outweigh the quick wins that fade as fast as they come. That trust is rare, but it's also powerful. So, resist the urge to rush. Accept that the path you're on may take years to fully reveal its reward. Pour yourself into the daily work, not the daily recognition. Build your roots before you show your branches. And when you finally step forward, do it knowing that your foundation is so strong, no storm can shake it. Because in the end, patience isn't about waiting. It's about preparing yourself so thoroughly that when the moment comes, you don't just show up, you dominate it. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace is this: you don't have to tell people who you are becoming, you can let them discover it. In a culture obsessed with self-promotion, where people are constantly narrating their lives in real time, there's something powerful about restraint. There's a strength in letting your results speak for you, because results carry a weight that words simply can't. When you talk about your plans too much, you run the risk of creating a gap between what you say and what you've actually done. That gap is dangerous. It invites doubt from others, but more importantly, it plants doubt in yourself. You start to feel the pressure of living up to an image you've already projected, and that pressure can distort your focus. You begin working to maintain appearances instead of working to achieve substance. But when you allow your work to unfold quietly, you eliminate that gap. You don't have to perform your progress. You just have to make progress. And when the time comes for people to see it, they'll have no choice but to acknowledge it. Results are undeniable. You can argue with a claim, but you can't argue with proof. There's a deep psychological advantage to this approach as well. When you rely on results rather than words, you're operating from a position of quiet confidence. You're no longer seeking reassurance from others to validate your path. That frees up an incredible amount of mental energy, energy that can be redirected into your craft, your discipline, and your growth. Who? It also makes you less reactive to criticism because you know your work will ultimately speak louder than any opinion, positive or negative. Who? It's worth noting that people are far more impacted by what they see than by what they're told. You can tell someone you're disciplined, but if they watch you consistently show up, deliver, and improve, the message is exponentially stronger. You can tell someone you're a leader, but if they witness you solving problems, taking responsibility, and producing results, they'll believe it without you saying a word. In this way, letting your results speak isn't just a strategy for personal credibility, it's also one of the most effective forms of influence. And this influence is rooted in authenticity. Words can be faked, results cannot. In an age where so much is curated, filtered, and exaggerated, authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who can quietly produce something real without needing to dress it up with endless self-promotion. When your results speak for you, they speak with an honesty that marketing can't manufacture. There's also a certain dignity in silence. It shows that you're not desperate for approval. It communicates that you're secure enough in what you're building that you don't need to parade it around before it's ready. And that dignity earns respect, sometimes even from those who may not like you, because deep down, people recognize competence when they see it. Now, some might argue that in today's world, if you don't promote yourself, you'll be overlooked. But there's a distinction between communicating your work when it's ready and constantly broadcasting every step along the way. The former is strategic, the latter is often an attempt to gain attention prematurely. If your work has genuine value, when you release it at the right time, it will create its own momentum. In fact, the element of surprise, revealing something fully formed, often has far more impact than a slow trickle of updates. This requires a certain level of discipline, because it means resisting the urge to prove yourself in the short term in order to have more impact in the long term. That's not easy in a world where recognition feels like oxygen. But here's the thing, if you make recognition your oxygen, you'll suffocate without it. If you make growth your oxygen, you can keep breathing no matter what the crowd is doing. And perhaps that's the deeper truth here. Results are not just for the world, they're for you. They're the proof you can hold in your own hands that the effort was worth it. They're a private reminder that you didn't just talk about changing, you did it. And once you know that, it doesn't matter how loudly or how quietly others respond. You'll have built something solid, something undeniable. Something that exists whether anyone is applauding or not. When you think about the people you respect most, you'll probably notice this pattern. They aren't constantly explaining themselves. They aren't begging for attention. They're too busy doing the work. And when they do reveal what they've been working on, it's with such substance and skill that people have no choice but to take notice. That's not an accident, it's the result of letting results, not words, carry the message. So, if you want to command attention, stop trying to demand it. If you want respect, stop asking for it. Build in silence, deliver in strength. Let your results be so strong that they make the announcement for you. Because at the end of the day, the most convincing statement you can make about who you are is not the one you speak, it's the one you prove. And when you do that, you won't just be heard, you'll be remembered.